everyone ready? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, well, starting you off with the obvious and easy one, how are you enjoying yourself at the London MCM Comic Con?
So far, so good, I'd say. We got in on Thursday, so we've kind of kicked jet lag, which is nice because, obviously 24 hours of travel and transit is never the most fun thing to navigate, but we've done it pretty well. But yeah, we love being in London. We were here last year, and I think we've been here, not at this event, but in London every year for the last 4 years. Yeah.
We're pros. We're pros at London now.
we
love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So with Flashback coming to the end of the season and coming back again, looking back now, what do you think of Roman, and how do you play him, given he's such a fractured character, including memory loss?
I take it one step at a time. He's obviously a very complicated guy, and depending on, I literally, I can't play him with the end goal in mind because I don't know what his end goal is. I've really got to take him scene by scene, and we've seen him in so many different facets to him. You've seen the just straight out sociopath early on, and then with his memory being erased, then you see the more good-natured Roman, the more childlike qualities coming through. So yeah, in that way, I literally have to take it scene by scene and get to the crux of why that particular scene was written.
What did you think regarding Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., your storyline, your character arc, and
how it came, how it finished up? Bastards. No, look, I think it's a really good way to go out. If you have to go out, why not blow yourself up and the supervillain in space while saving the girl in the world? It's kind of brilliant to, when you say that out loud, that's awesome. As an actor, obviously, not as a real life person. Yeah, no, it was a really fantastic end to the journey of Lincoln Campbell, I thought. I think the writers did a really good job. Kind of creating a really heroic moment for a character that didn't see himself as a hero. So yeah, I thought it was really well done, and it all came together well.
Did you know much about the Inhumans history, or before you took the role? Or?
No, I didn't. I didn't know anything about the Inhumans, but as soon as I found out I got the role, obviously I went straight to my local comic book store in LA and bought a bunch of comic books and researched the hell out of them, and I thought it was fascinating, and I'm actually really excited that ABC are doing Inhumans. Be very interesting to see how that turns out.
We learned from the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Have you seen how your character has developed throughout different episodes?
Absolutely. I think Lincoln went through a huge transition. When the audience is first introduced to him, his role is really a side character, but to introduce Daisy and the audience to the world of Inhumans, that's essentially the role that I played, which was really interesting. But then obviously as we transitioned from season 2 into season 3, I was promoted to series regular, and they really fleshed out my character a bit more, and you got to get to know Lincoln, which was really nice. Obviously, as an actor, you want to play a three-dimensional character, so it was nice to be given a backstory and see how that kind of transitioned through to him doing what he did at the end of season 3.
And Rebecca, have you been having a lot of fun with the originals? I think fans have been having a lot of fun with your character.
She's crazy.
She's crazy. Obviously, she's definitely the best. My favorite character I've ever played. She's so much fun and so menacing and unhinged, and anything is possible with her. You laugh where you should cry, and you cry where you should laugh. She's just a perpetual toddler. 1,000-year-old all-powerful toddler, so she needs to get her way, and if she doesn't, she tantrums. And
also kind of sexy as well.
Yes, that too, which is also a very fun realm to play in. So she's kind of all facets, and I had a really, really fantastic, playful time with her, and was given a lot of freedom from the writers as well. They set me a really liberal foundation, really solid foundation, a lot of backstory, a really well fleshed out character. But that foundation also gave me the tools I needed to kind of fly from there and go, oh, what's possible with this character and what can I do? And, you know, sometimes you do a take of something and, you know, the director would say cut and I'd be like, did I just do that? That was messed up. You know, like ripping someone's throat out and then giggling and like trotting down an alleyway and just going like, that was evil, man. Where did that come from? You know, but it's, you know, when you're given that world to play in, it's, yeah, it's liberating and it's creative and it's why I'm in this industry. You know, it's explorative and just fun.
And
just
I've been on my best
fun.
behavior ever since.
Yeah. Don't mess. Don't piss off Aurora DeMartel. I'll tell you what. Yeah, so that was really fun.
Obviously, I mean, fans have their favourite moments, like the kind of stuff you're mentioning. Are there particular scenes, even little moments that just for you, looking back, make you smile a lot when you see them or think about them?
There's one moment, it was so stupid, but to me it was so fun. I got to talk about Rebecca being under the ocean, and I was like, with the fish and the little crabs. And I got to do a moment of like the little crab pincers, and that obviously wasn't written, that's just me being weird, coming out. And it's just so nice, because usually you're playing the love interest, or I don't know, the uni student, or, you know, usually you have a very set, like, this is the story you're telling, this is the character you're portraying, and this is your function in the story, you know, so you don't get a lot of freedom to play within that. You just need to, you know, serve the function of the story that your character is telling, you know. So it's really fun to be doing something that wasn't just functional storytelling functionality. It was, you know, let's go there, let's bring a crazy character to life. So to have the freedom to be someone who's expected to be crazy, I get to do silly little things, like, can't be, you know, the love interest at dinner going, and be like, why is he dating her? She's weird, you know. So it was really fun to be able to get to do stuff like that. So yeah, there's that moment. There's some of my favorite moments were in the episode 19, where Aurora kind of had Klaus hooked up in some shackle thing and he couldn't move, and you know, she baits him going, if I kissed you now, would you feel something? And he's like, oh yeah, because he's trying to get out of trouble. And she's like, I actually wouldn't. And it was the most empowered I felt as that character, because she's all powerful, you know, but she was always under his spell. So to be out from under his spell and all powerful made her really menacing. And that was the most fun, kind of daring, powerful version of that character I felt. So yeah. And then she was supposed to come back and do this stuff, but I was busy doing other things. And so she's still technically alive at the bottom of the ocean, and the show's been renewed. So I don't know what they have planned for Aurora. I don't know, maybe she'll make a return from the ocean and continue to be menacing. But I always have this idea that she's gone to therapy and she comes back really normal. And I think that would be more interesting, because you'd be like, when's she going to snap? You know, when's she going to, you know, click.
Wait, so she got locked up with a therapist under the ocean, did she?
Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting storyline, rather than her just coming back and being like crazy. I'd like to see her come back and be like, no, I really understand why you hurt me and I forgive you for that. And then you'd be like, well, this is even weirder, what's going on? You know, when's she gonna flip?
When are the crab pincers?
Crabs. Yeah, sorry, that's who knows.
I'm curious, on the flip side of that, you feel empowered when you're playing someone who's that crazy and that all-powerful. How do the rest of the cast around you respond to you because of that? How do they feel about it?
Look, let's be honest, they're just about as crazy and weird as I am. A lot of them. I think, you know, a lot of people were kind of envious of the character, though, you know, because a lot of them, you know, their characters are quite set in stone. Or like, say, Phoebe, for example, her character is almost the voice of reason. She's very grounded, very normal, you know, and they need characters like that, you know. So I think me getting to have every day is so interesting and so much creative license, you know. I think I was lucky to, especially in terms of female characters, I think I got to be one of the most interesting female characters on the show. So I think people were genuinely quite envious of what I got to do, you know, and I definitely didn't squander that, you know, opportunity. I think I really went to town with being as crazy and dysfunctional as I could. Because when are you going to get that opportunity again, you know, you're literally not a human. unless you're an Inhuman.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's cool to go like, well, all powerful, literally like has bipolar kind of, you know, she's just, her spectrum is just all over the shop. So you don't frequently get to do things like that. So it's fun.
Do you feel you want to do a movie?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you feel that you want to do a movie?
A movie?
Yeah.
I love movies. I just did a movie with Ben Elton, actually, who's a big British writer, novelist, comedian, etc., etc. accolades to Ben Elton. So we just did a film together back in Australia last year, which is going to come out in September this year. So that's very exciting. I get to play musician, so that's fun. Musicians are also crazy, but not as crazy as 1,000-year-old vampires with bipolar. So, yeah.
Last question, Mike.
I guess obviously you guys are working on these fantastic international projects, but you both got your start domestically with the Australian television. I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about that experience and why it's such a rich breeding ground for international superstars?
Look, I think unfortunately the Australian industry is just so small, you know, and like if once you get a job in Australia, you know, if you're lucky enough to get a job on Home and Away or Neighbours, which, you know, I think of as the two tent poles in the industry because they're the two longest running shows, and so, you know, at some point almost every actor has had some sort of a role on one of those shows. We were both fortunate enough to work on Home and Away for, you know, Beck was 4 years, I was 3.5 years. You know, that's a lot of episodes, that's a lot of time on set working with different actors, multiple directors, different writers. You know, the experience is amazing. And so, you know, if you are focused and you're like a sponge, you know, you're learning every day, every week, then you'll get, you know, so much out of the experience. But if you get caught up in the bubble of it and, you know, think that you're a celebrity when you're in Home and Away, then, you know, you probably won't do so good because your focus is on the wrong thing. But I think both of us, you know, focused on the acting whilst we're on Home and Away, and, you know, I think it's served us pretty well in terms of our transition into the American industry. You know, it's not all that, it's same but different. You know, it's the sets are just bigger. You feel a little bit more pressure because there's more money involved. But, you know, if you're focusing on doing your job as an actor, doing your best to bring that particular character to life, then you know, that's all you can do, and, you know, that's where you see the results, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, the jobs back home, there's not a lot of room. In fact, there's no room for divas. No one's a superstar. You know, everyone's a human doing the work, and I think that breeds a really strong work ethic. And I think people that really, you know, take acting seriously, they get in that training ground and they, you know, they get to explore and experiment and push the boundaries of their creativity. And you do that for 4 years and learn the technicals of being on set all the time. You're just you're just a machine, and you're pumped. You know, you want more. You want to do bigger. You want to continue to push yourself and see what you can achieve and how far you can go. And, you know, so that's a great thing about, you go to the States and suddenly you're on the set for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you're like, wow, look what they can do with their money and their resources. And so what can I do in this world? How can I push myself further? And you get that adrenaline rush of like, oh, I got to step up again. I think you get addicted to the rush of the challenge of, I have to meet this. I have to meet this standard. Now push myself, meet that standard. You know, constantly growing and expanding yourself and challenging yourself and seeing what's possible. What can you do? And I think that partnered with the no diva complex and complete work ethic, I think breeds, you know, an army of Australian actors going over there and really giving it a good shot. And also you're spending all your money. You can't get a job because of visas, and you've left all you're a 14-hour flight away from everything you hold dear, you know, so it really separates the wheat from the chaff. Whereas I think if you're just born and bred in LA, you know, you can definitely take it seriously, but you're going to your mum's on the weekend, you have a part-time job, and that, like, no, I put everything into this. I sold my car back home. I don't, you know, I'm everything. I can't just go home for the weekends and see my mum. Like, so you really have to throw it all out there. It's really all or nothing. And so I think, again, that kind of breeds you know, an attitude and breeds a bunch of people that really have to take the work seriously, really have to apply themselves and do whatever it takes to be as good as they can be, to give themselves the best shot because of how much they've sacrificed and how much you have to do to be there and, you know, be lucky enough to have a shot at it, you know. But having said that, the couple of times, I know I've worked at home a lot more than you have since we left Home and Away, but there is something really wonderful about being in your accent and being with an Aussie crew and being in your environment. You know, it's really good soul food, and I know you'll take the right opportunity to go home and work, and I've loved the stuff that I've got to do back home as well, and it's great that we can do both now. And I think, you know, the world's getting smaller and smaller, and it's becoming a global industry as much as it's becoming a global community. And so I think we're really lucky because, you know, back in the, you know, the days of when like Heath Ledger and Melissa George, and, you know, the early Home and Aways were coming out. I think it was a lot harder for them. They didn't have Skype and Viber and, you know, wire over money. You know, it was even harder for them. So I still like count ourselves lucky at the, you know, where we are at. It's still hard, but it's still a lot more accessible to be able to live your dream, you know, and we're getting to do that to the fullest, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Cool.
thanks.
All right, thanks guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone. Have a good day.